Charlie Kirk was once asked,
"How's it going, Charlie? I'm Austin. I just had a question related to Second Amendment rights. We saw the shooting that happened recently, and a lot of people are upset. But I'm seeing people argue for the other side that they want to take our Second Amendment rights away. How do we convince them that it's important to have the right to defend ourselves and all that good stuff?"
and this is exactly what he said.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So I'm a big Second Amendment fan, but I think most politicians are cowards when it comes to defending why we have a Second Amendment. This is why I would not be a good politician, or maybe I would, I don't know. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment is not even about personal defense. That is important. The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Come on.
And if that talk scares you, wow, that's radical, Charlie. I don't know about that. Well, then you have not really read any of the literature of our founding fathers. Yep. Number two, you've not read any 20th century history. You're just living in Narnia. You just don't want to face reality that governments tend to get tyrannical, and that if people need an ability to protect themselves and their communities and their families. Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told us it.
Hello world, the Faceless Prophet here. And if you're tired of hearing pathological leftist logic and want a good source that can carry Charlie's torch, please make sure to like, follow, and share for more. Now let me be crystal clear. I'm making this video because of a pathological liberal father that came into my live the other day and said this.
So April 5th, 2023, in reference to a question about unalivings related to school pew-pewings, he said, "Unfortunately, I think that some unalivings every year are necessary to preserve our Second Amendment and other God-given rights." And I think that if you feel that way, you have to also feel that Charlie's unaliving was necessary.
Are you fucking
to preserve our second...
Did you hear how disgustingly pathological that was? Okay, for those of you who didn't catch it, this liberal father framed everything as if Charlie was responding directly to school-related shootings. That wasn't the question. The question was addressing related deaths as a whole. Charlie Kirk was not saying that the deaths of children are necessary. He was acknowledging a reality. Freedom, including the right to bear arms, comes with risks. With great power come great responsibility. That's not insensitive, that's just the truth. In other words, having 45,000 gun-related deaths a year is a necessary reality for the Second Amendment to be preserved. Not that the 20 school shootings was necessary of that 45,000. What is shocking and morally repulsive is when people twist the logic into something grotesque, suggesting that lives are expendable, or worse, that Charlie himself needed to unalive. That's not debate, that's pathological. Now, let's talk about perspective. While the extreme left is all up in arms over the 45,000 related pew-pew deaths each year, in order to push an agenda to take away our rights to bear arms, there's an even more sinister number that I'd like to bring to light. Did you know that in the United States, roughly 700,000 people die each year from heart disease, and about 300,000 of those deaths are directly tied to obesity? Gun deaths, by contrast, are around 45,000. That means people are 6.66 times more likely to die of being fat than of being shot.
Yeah, bitch, I shoot you in your face. Everybody gonna die.
And yet, the outrage is almost always focused on often in communities where violence is barely an issue. So instead of focusing on taking away our maybe we should take away our donut shops instead.
Huh? What's it?
I can't go on. You be. Oh.
Not to mention, the cities with the most violence also happen to be in democratic states with the most stringent laws. Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Detroit, just to name a few, are all democratic cities where most of the violence happens. And guess what? Most of those deaths are gang-related deaths, not tragic school shootings. The point is this. Charlie was saying it's worth having those 45,000 deaths a year in order for us to have the right to bear arms. Though the left wants to put the focus on pew-pew violence because of school shootings only account for less than 1% of that 45,000. In other words, it's smoke and mirrors in order to push a communist agenda that can't fully manifest until they take away our rights to bear arms. The irony is clear. While they focus on pew-pew violence, over 20 school shooting deaths a year, and put focus on the 45,000 as if all these people done got shot up in schools, they fail to see that they're 6.66 times more likely to die of eating Twinkies than they would die of being shot. Unless they pulled their stupid nonsense in the hood, of course, but they're not that stupid, right? And finally, let's take the leftist sentiment and take it all the way to their utopian scenario where pew-pews are completely outlawed in America. Because this country already has so many pew-pews in circulation, making stricter pew-pew laws will only make it harder for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves, while all the lawbreakers will still find a way to get access to those pew-pews. A perfect example of this are the very Democratic-run cities I just mentioned. Many of those gang-related deaths are happening with unregistered firearms, meaning they got them illegally. The thought that we will be able to eliminate the 20 school shootings a year by taking away our is nothing more than a naive Barbie-land dream that will never come true. And even if it did come true, we would just become like China, meaning we'll just see a spike in knife-related deaths instead. Did you know that 50% of all intentional homicides are committed with sharp objects in China? While there are only 1,500 in America, there are about 6,500 knife-related homicides in China each year. In other words, if you take one method away, the world will just find another way to negate the laws of the land. And yes, I know about the population difference, but when 50% of all homicides are committed with sharp objects, it tells us that even after making strict laws like in China, just as Charlie Kirk said, you'll still have deaths each year. So does this mean we need to take away all our kitchen knives as well? It's funny because the people who are statistically most at risk, those dying from preventable lifestyle choices, are rarely targeted, silenced, or confronted because they have nothing to stand for. They just remind me of the fat NBA fan in the stands that criticizes every player on the court as if he could actually even dribble a ball. Why would they need to be worried about being silenced by a pew-pew? It's the Twinkie they need to be worried about. Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, had something to stand for. He spoke truth that cut through the lies, and for that, he was silenced. That's the real difference. So yes, freedom comes with risks, but the true moral failure is twisting words to justify harm and celebrating the silencing of someone who stood for truth. That's why I had to remind this liberal father just how much of a disgusting human being he was. And if you're sick and tired of hearing demonic nonsense from the left and want a good source to shut them down, please make sure to like, follow, and share for more. But until next time, the Faceless Prophet out.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told it to you.